up, get out and get something. How will you make it if you never even try?
Hey, yay.
Get out and get something. 'Cause you
Shout out to
and I
CeeLo.
got to do for you and I.
You and I got to do for you and I, and we always want to highlight those that are doing just that. We're going to feature a nonprofit right here in our own backyard of the Triple D. They work all over the Dallas Metroplex, and they go by the name of Behind Every Door. They focus on building and creating community centers for at-risk youth in hard-pressed areas of the city, most notably in the Village Oaks apartments in the Cliff. So funny enough, so y'all know, we kind of create content and curate content. I didn't know that we were going to talk about Jay Rhodes. Jay Rhodes is passionate about the community. We're talking about an organization that's also passionate about the community. And one of the brothers that we mutually know, Street Hymns, is a cat that works. He's in the battle rap scene. Really, really dope.
Shout out to battle rap.
Yeah, shout out to battle rap.
Talking shit about battle rap. Don't get me started again. I'm gonna move on.
All right. So Street Hymns also goes by Love Nindo too as well. Those are his two different aliases, that his monikers that he rocks under. But he also worked behind Every Door. And this organization is really phenomenal. And I'll tell you guys about what they do. And they really focus on community centers in the community. And they say often when people think of change in the context of urban poverty, they think of finding ways to leave or quote unquote get out of the neighborhoods experiencing poverty. Because community centers exist within the communities they serve, they provide a chance to affect change in the community. They allow us to be a present resource for the long haul. Within our centers, we seek to create home-like environments that promote safety, stability, and relationship. Community centers also provide an effective foundation for being a hub of resources, okay, to the populations we serve. As a network, all of our community centers have common values, programming structure, and funding, but have enough autonomy to adapt to the needs and desires of the communities that they serve. So really what this looks like, y'all, I'm going to tell you what it looks like at Village Oaks down in the Cliff.
Hey.
They have a community garden. They even have a studio. Okay, so Street for a long time, who is also a vegan, he taught the kids urban farming. So he was teaching these kids in the apartment complex how to plant, how to grow, the science behind it all. And he had a studio where he let them come in there and just express themselves. Yeah. So we talked about even earlier in the show about the mental health, right? And the inability of us to express our emotions. He would let them come in and get all that out. He would be the engineer for their sessions, record their stuff, let them have their stuff. The only qualification was, you couldn't have anything that was derogatory, violent against each other or other individuals. You could express yourself. He didn't, he wasn't too big on monitoring all the curse words and filtering everything out because he wanted them to express naturally. But this is the kind of stuff that Behind Every Door does, man. And again, it's really cut and dry in terms of the community center. I think that Jay Rhodes had a great point talking about the gentrification that happens. What's interesting for a historical standpoint is that Oak Cliff was a all-white neighborhood at one point. Okay, and they unfortunately, and I hate to say it, what happens with white people a lot is that they kind of abandon cities when black people move in and in neighborhoods and areas, and then they go back in when the property values depreciate so bad and they buy everything up. And then they move us to the areas that they no longer now want. So that's actually happening here in Dallas, like North Dallas. When I first moved here to Texas, North Dallas area, Skillman, Ardelia, Forest, all of that. That wasn't the hood around Richland College in that area, okay? That was not considered a hood at all in the least, but now the North Side is called the Nutty North Side, the North, okay? And it's because of the fact that you had those from the North move all the way into Plano, into Frisco, into the northern sector of the city, and the property values depreciate and drop drastically. Okay, so it's not like we're all coming in lowering the property value on ourselves. Okay, it's a few black people come in for work because it's easier to commute, and then our presence starts to make people uncomfortable. Okay, now we gotta take some responsibility because we do have our cousins and them come over to the house, and then all of a sudden you got your cousin boyfriend coming over there now, and now all of a sudden he trapping in the apartment complex. But that's not all of us, you know what I'm saying? And so what happens in these situations is that once we don't have the means, and then these apartment complexes too as well, if you know anything about them, they are owned by these big investment groups, okay? And they're just looking to flip them. So as y'all know, they don't update them. You call for maintenance, they barely bring the maintenance out.
Maintenance?
What maintenance? Yeah, you put in a maintenance request and they don't come for months. They barely fix something. Okay, and then they take your deposit and they don't invest it back in the apartment complex, and then they just move in another tenant, and then the apartment complex goes downhill. Not because we did anything, but the people who own it are not taking care of it.
Damn.
And they're using it as a flip. Okay, and then they sell it to another property group who comes in. They do a bunch of renovations. They kick everybody out. They raise up the rent, right? And they do it all over again, or they just do the bare minimum repairs.
Couple new microwaves.
Yeah,
fresh
a couple
oven.
new microwaves. Exactly.
Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah.
Light switches.
And so Jay Rhodes, you know, in your previous section, I feel like these are two kind of bleeding in together a little bit today.
Right.
You know, but we have to do better about investing into our own community. And we bring up NIP again. We talked about the NIP mural. We talked about NIP on another episode. Right. But that is the stuff we're talking about, is buying real estate. And even shout out to, you know, Vlad TV. You know, he brings a lot of people on his show talking about real estate investment and how we need to take more control of our communities. And so I wanted to give a shout out to Behind Every Door for what they're doing by building community centers, having a positive impact for the youth in those areas, and by curating experiences that help them grow. And so it's a great thing. But, you know, we on AllOva Radio are always going to give you things that are going to enlighten, uplift, educate, and also challenge you.